Hey everybody, it's Davide from the PSM team here with another WebEx Contact Center tutorial video. So today I want to go through the Business Engine Rules, also known as BRE, which is a native solution in WebEx Contact Center that can help your customers providing a customized and enhanced experience to their users that can be used, for example, to customize voice prompts or inside conditions or queue nodes to route calls to specific agents. Let's have a look now on how they work and how to set them up. There are three areas where the configuration needs to take place, so to set up and use BREs. The BRE DataSync, which contains the user data. In this portal, the administrator can upload and manage different collections where the data is stored. Then we have the Business Rules Engine utility, which contains the engine configuration. These can be accessed from the WebEx Contact Center management portal by the administrators. Then we have the Flow Designer, which will trigger the BRE's lookup and where the administrator will define the flow behaviors based on the customer needs. Let's begin with the data sync and what is required there. First, the administrator needs to request Cisco to create a data store, also known as lookup type for your specific organization. If you haven't done it already, please contact us and share the organization ID where you would like to use the BREs. I'll leave our contact details in the video description. You can always request multiple lookup types, so to store data in different containers in case you need to keep some data separated. Once the lookup type is created, you can navigate to the data sync specific for your region to start uploading your data. I will also leave these links in the description. When you open the portal, you'll be requested to authenticate. Please note that depending on the account that you will be using at the login, you will only be able to see the BRE's configuration for the tenant where that user is configured. After the initial authentication, you will have to select the site. Note that these are just set for redundancy, and the data is replicated between them. You should always start from the site A and then choose the others only when the previous doesn't work. Once in the main interface of the data sync, you will be able to check the data that is already configured, or you can decide if adding entries individually or in bulk by uploading a CSV file. When selecting Data List, you'll be able to consult the data that is already available for your tenant. First, select the tenant name, then the lookup type. Your data will appear on the right side. When you select Add Data, you'll be prompted to select again the tenant name and the lookup type before entering the data that you want to add. As you can see, here we only have two fields, the key and the value. The key is the parameter you will be using from your voice flow to perform the actual lookup. And this is, in the vast majority of cases, the caller ANI. Quick reminder, do not use any special characters inside the key field. The value field can contain up to 500 characters and can be used to store all the data you want. Here, the administrator can enter data with a special character as a delimiter between the actual values to be stored. Depending on your preferences and the actual data format that you will be storing, you can use a comma, a pipe, dash sign, or any others. By clicking on the Add Data blue button, the system will provide a space to add more entries in one shot. Simply click on the Submit button when you're happy with the data you entered. The same logic and rules apply to the Upload BRE CSV data section. Here, the administrator can upload a CSV file containing the required data. When creating the CSV file, please remember that the document should contain a header line and 3 columns. The value you put in the first line as a header doesn't really matter. Just make sure you add something there, as the first line is always ignored when uploading the CSV. The first column shall include your key value, and the second the actual content for that key. Just a simple reminder here, as we are using a CSV file, do not use comma as your delimiter. The last column can include the action type, which can be add, update, or delete. The syntax here is not key sensitive. If empty, the system will automatically consider to add the line into the existing configuration as long as it's a new key. But if the same key already exists, you'll be required to use the word update to indeed update the value assigned to it. If you want to delete an entry, you can just specify the key and the delete action. There's no need to enter an actual value in between. Once you are happy with the data in your DataSync, you can then move into the management portal to set up your BRE configuration. Navigate to the management portal and in the menu select Business Rule Engine. A new browser tab will be open. Select Attributes. Click on the Add button. Enter the word context in the name and if you want a description. Finally, select Text as data type and click on the Save button. Move to Labels. Click on the Add button. Enter a name of your choice and optionally a description. Then simply save it and move to Context. Click on the Add Context button. And in the name field, enter the value from the generated context you will find in the DataSync portal for your specific lookup type. If you want, enter a description, select the attribute we just created, and finally click on the Save button. You'll then see the newly created context in the list. So select it and click on the Add Rules editor. Rules will determine what needs to happen when the engine performs the actual lookup. The simplest and most common scenario is to determine if the lookup finds or not an entry for the value you're looking for. So the first rule we will create is for when the data is found. Again, give it a name and a description. Select the active checkbox. Select the label we created earlier, which will be used to store the value our lookup will return. Then give it a priority. And since this is our first rule, let's give it the highest one, 100. In the rule editor field, copy the code in the video description and replace the text between quotes. Your attribute name will be replaced with the attribute you created in this portal. Same for your label name with your new label. The FROMFLOWBRE node will be defined in a moment inside the Flow Designer. Give it a name here and take note of it so we can reuse it shortly. Finally, save your rule. Click on Add Rules Editor to set the rules for the case when the lookup will not find any data. Once again, give it a name and a description, select the active checkbox, select the same label, give it a priority of 99 as it must be lower than the other, and paste the other part of the code from the video description. Replace again the text between quotes. Note how here the code will return the value of not found inside our label in case the lookup doesn't find anything in our data store. Once we click on Save, we can move to the Flow Designer. Here I'm opening a flow that I already mapped to an active entry point, so everything is ready for testing later. First thing to do is to bring the BRE node inside the canvas so we can start looking at its configuration. If you want, you can customize the node name and description. Then inside the query parameter, you will see the context grayed out since it's a mandatory parameter. Here you'll have to enter the value from the generated context you already got from the DataSync. Below it, you must enter the value you indicated earlier in the rules code, the one you used when replacing the FROMFLOWBRE node text. Finally, at the bottom of the configuration, you'll have to select a variable which will contain the lookup response, which we know is contained in the label. For this reason, the path expression will have to be $, and your label name. So before we actually configure this node, we have to do a couple of things. First is to create a flow variable for a lookup response. Let's add the new one with a name of your choice and type as string. Second, we need to check if our incoming ANI will contain a leading plus sign. In most of the deployment, that will be the case. So what we will have to do is to get the number in a separate variable, stripping the plus. So let's create another text variable to store the new ANI and bring a new set variable node in the flow. If you want, edit the name and the description. select the variable we just created, and copy-paste the syntax to remove the plus from the video description. Now that we have our variable set, let's update the BRE node. Let's add our generated context, the key from our engine rule, and as a value, our new variable with the stripped ANI. Finally, let's select the variable that will contain the label value. So let's connect the nodes together and add a condition node to determine how to route the calls in case we found or not the ANI. Inside the condition, define a syntax that will check if our dedicated flow variable contains the text specified in the NOTFOUND rule. Connect the true and false outcomes to the desired nodes so to route the calls, triggering the behaviors you want, and you're set to go. The last insight for today's video is how to deal with BRE responses when the text defined in the DataSync is not just a single value, but a concatenated string with a special character separating the different values. I'm leaving in the video description few examples of syntax you can use in your flow. What you want to do is to create flow variables to store the required values in your flow, and then bring in a set variable where you will use the shared syntax to assign the required values to such variables. The syntax works as following. First, you define the variable or a text you want to look into, followed by the pipe sign. Then the split function, which has to contain the delimiter character and the amount of times this character will be used to split the original text. Few things here. If you use the pipe sign as a delimiter, remember to use the escape character, the backslash, before it, otherwise you will break the syntax. Then remember, the number you specify is the amount of parts, counting from the left. You will split the original text anytime you encounter that special character. Let's say, for example, you have a name, comma, surname, comma, age, comma, country, and you decide to split in two using the comma. The result will be that name will be in the first part, then surname, comma, age, comma, country will be in the second. After the split function, add another pipe sign and then use either the function first or last to decide which part of the text you want to keep. You can then expand the formula, adding more splits and first-last functions when looking for data in the middle of your original string. So let me show you a quick example. In my DataSync, I have a value composed by surname, name, and country. And what I want to do in my flow is to greet my customer with a customized welcome message, prompting their name using the text-to-speech I already have configured. What I'll do is to define a flow variable called name, then add a set variable node that will first split the text in two parts. So one will be surname and the other will be name, comma, country. Take the last part of it and then again split it in two, taking the first part, the name. I'll then use a play message node where I will include that variable. Let's see if it works.
Welcome back, Valentino.
So as you can see, BREs allow your customers to create a more customized experience for their user base. And it's a great solution, especially for the ones who are not already adopting a CRM or any other third-party customer relationship management applications. We hope this tutorial was interesting and useful. Please score and comment this video and let us know if there's any other topic you would like us to cover in the next ones. See you soon and thanks for watching.